We now come to the 10-minute rule motion. Nickie Aiken.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I beg to move that leave be given to bring in a bill to provide for the regulation of the carrying of passengers in Greater London by pedal cycles and power-assisted pedal cycles for hire or reward and for connected purposes. Madam Deputy Speaker, I'm sure honourable members will be familiar with the sight of pedicabs or rickshaws on the streets of London. Pre-COVID-19, they might have come out of the theatre to a row of pedicabs ringing their bells, playing their music, touting for business, haggling over trips to stations, restaurants, bars or hotels. They may seem like a fun way to end an evening, a white-knuckle ride through the streets of London on your way home. But you may find there's a sting in the tail. You may be told, when you arrive at your destination, that the price you originally agreed to was for one person, and that as you were two, it is now doubled. I have heard of tourists being charged upwards of £100 for a mile journey. Surely, you wonder, pedicabs must be regulated. They must run a meter, be insured, have their vehicles regularly inspected for faults and roadworthiness. Shouldn't they have to undertake the same checks and balances of other vehicles for hire? Our traditional black cabs and private hires, such as Uber, are heavily regulated. Well, sadly, none of the above is true for pedicabs. Due to a loop in the Metropolitan Public Carriages Act of 1869, pedicab operators are not classified as stage carriages. As a result, there is no requirement for insurance, no requirement for fares to be fixed or consistent, and no requirement for vehicles or drivers to be quality assessed. They are the only form of public transport in London that is not regulated in any way. And estimates suggest that there are around 2,000 of them in operation in central London alone. Alongside the fact that because pedicabs are not insured or checked in any way, they are a risk to those that use them. They are proving to be a risk and disruption to Londoners at large. They often play loud music late into the night as they drive the streets. They can drive dangerously on the pavements, putting pedestrians at risk. Accidents are becoming more frequent and hit and runs are not uncommon. They have also been known to promote criminal behaviour. According to a 2015 Evening Standards report, pedicab drivers were being paid tips by prostitutes for taking passengers to brothels for sex, as well as reports of facilitating drug dealing across the city. Westminster City Council receives a large number of complaints regarding pedicabs. In 2016, the last year for which the council maintained figures in this area, approximately 1,000 council-led interventions against pedicabs were required. However, this is not to say that all pedicab drivers or operators behave in this way. We have seen a growth in pedicab provision on the basis of providing an environmentally friendly alternative to taxis and other forms of public transport. Some operators have taken it upon themselves to insure their vehicles and drivers, as well as regulate their fares. However, it remains the case that these good operators are under no obligation to take the steps that they have, and they remain in the minority. I would like to also take this opportunity to highlight the growing number of bona fide companies that we see using pedicabs to deliver goods around central London. Of course, they offer a more environmentally friendly delivery service, which should be welcomed. It is not about taking them off the roads. I would wish to encourage much more greener vehicles such as these on our streets, as long as they are roadworthy and the drivers have been checked. That is why I and a cross-party group of London MPs have brought this bill before the House today. It is essential that Transport for London is given the powers to regulate pedicabs, to make sure they're safe, that their fares are reasonable and consistent, and that rogue operators can no longer present a threat to residents and businesses in London. I also have cross-party support from outside this place. The bill is supported by the Mayor of London and Lambeth Council, as well as Westminster City Council and the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea. It is also supported by London councils, a cross-party organisation representing London boroughs. The bill is supported by the London Taxi Drivers Association, the New West End Company, Heart of London Business Alliance, as well as resident associations and amenity societies across Westminster, including the Soho Society, Marylebone Association, Marylebone Society and Covent Garden Community Association and the Knightsbridge Association. The bill allows TfL to set requirements around drivers' eligibility and conditions, thereby preventing the current exploitation of some drivers by gangmasters. We must recognise that there is a minority of pedicab drivers who may be at risk themselves of being trafficked and be part of a modern slavery abuse. Having the regulation as outlined in this bill could help stop that practice if drivers have to be checked. The bill protects the consumer by ensuring quality and roadworthiness of vehicles. The bill will offer some comfort to businesses and residents by allowing for conditions to prevent pedicabs standing or plying for hire in specific places or at specific times, as determined by Transport for London. Madam Deputy Speaker, it is a simple bill, it is a clear bill, and it is a bill that is much needed and much wanted. I understand the government is sympathetic to what the bill wishes to achieve, as I note in a response to the question from the Honourable Member of Vauxhall in April that the government said it is aware of concerns raised about unregulated pedicabs in London and as such has committed to seek opportunities to introduce legislation that will enable the regulation of pedicabs. I would be delighted to offer the government such an opportunity by encouraging them to back my bill at second reading. Last but certainly not least, this bill is supported by 3,000 of my constituents who have pledged their support via my website. Madam Deputy Speaker, I am clear that this is not a bill to ban pedicabs. I welcome them as part of London's drive to become a greener city for us to live and work, but they must be regulated, they must be safe. There must be sanctions for injury or risk to pedestrians and customers. And it is for these reasons that I hope that this bill will be introduced. No other city in the UK is subject to this loophole. It is just London that runs the risk. We must take this opportunity to correct that, and I commend this bill to the House.
Well, the question is that the honourable member have leave to bring in the bill. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye! Of the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Who will prepare and bring in the bill?
Madam Deputy Speaker, the bill is provided by Felicity Buchan, Andy Slaughter, Karen Buck, Florence Eshalomi, Meg Hillier and Wes Streeting, and myself.
Nickie Aiken. Clark.
Pedicabs, London Bill.
Second reading what day?
Friday the 12th of June.
Friday the 12th of June. Thank you.